Welcome to Gold Silver Pros. Searching for the best precious metals deal? Shop with our trusted partner, �ヮ𝙀𝑐. Access special deals on silver, gold, and platinum through our website or call 307-264-9441.
Hey everybody, this is �ヮ𝙊𝙏𝑝𝑟𝑜 with goldsilverpros.com. We're recording this on October 20th, 2022, and we have a very exciting company back on the program. We've covered them before. It's Canagold Resources, and I'm here with the new CEO, Catalin Kilofliski. How are you doing today, Catalin?
Excellent. It's a pleasure to provide an update of the company and at a very significant turnaround point for the company. So very happy to be with you.
Yeah, and it's exciting news. There's been a lot of news coming out since the summer of changes you guys have been making to your management team, focus, and what your new direction is going to be. Perhaps you can give us an overview of exactly what you guys have done.
Absolutely. I'll give you a bit of background. I was actually the CEO of Canagold for about almost 45 years, from about 14 to 18. The reason behind me joining at that time was, Canagold has one of the highest graded undeveloped gold projects in Canada, in North America, probably even. So, we have a great project. The unfortunate part, is that it's been in the company for more than 30 years, and the previous, board, which was more or less the same since inception to some extent, failed to advance the project. So, we are very fortunate that a very significant private group, which is called 𝙬𝙬 Investments, which is a mining focus group. They have 2 operating mines in Colombia. They are producing gold. They have a huge technical team also in Colombia. They are led on the technical side by an ex-Rio Tinto individual who's a fantastic, very experienced, both engineer, geologist, and also has a degree in water. So, all in all, they've seen the opportunity of this project being around and not being advanced. So, they initially wanted to make an investment in the company, which later turned into a proxy fight, which was overwhelmingly supported by the existing shareholders who have been with the company for a long period of time. Also, in turn, probably got fed up with things not going on, and then supported a major transformation of Canagold. And as a result of that, considering my involvement with the company and my desire to really bring this project through production decision, I've rejoined the company in August. But this is really fundamentally a completely new company. I mean, really, the only thing that stays the same is the fact that it's been around for 30 years. Fundamentally, it's completely different. Why is different? I'll tell you why it's different. One, of course, we have a brand new board, and the people in the board of directors are very top-notch, very senior executives with lots of experience in the mining space and the capital markets. So there's one thing. The second most important thing, it's the support and the commitment from our largest shareholder, which is Sun Valley Investments. They basically have made a commitment to the company to backstop and fund any capital requirements needed by Canagold to complete bankable feasibility study, permitting, and get the project to a production decision. Right? So it's a very unique situation because, yes, we are public, we're trading, we're a TSX main board listed company. But really, regardless what the market does in terms of where the gold price moves over the next 2-3 years and how hard or easy it is to raise capital, we can achieve our objectives, right? So I've been involved in the junior space for a long period of time, and I know firsthand, like everybody knows, how cyclical the market is and how, you can have to stop and start based on the ability to raise capital. It's unlike now for Canagold. Canagold has the funding commitment to complete its objective, and we've made a few announcements in the last few weeks, which are very positive. That shows that we are doing what we said we're going to be doing. One of the most important one was the actual commencement of the feasibility study, which is expected to take about 18 months. And there's going to be more announcements coming as we now work through. We actually have now the entire new board of directors and our largest shareholder in Vancouver for about 2 weeks. And this is really an effort to have everybody very familiar with the project. We're even planning to go and visit the project, visit with our partners at the First Nation. So, it's pretty much a hands-on company. I'm very excited to be part of the new Canagold team and lead in our efforts to eventually bring this project to a production decision.
And I want to highlight some of the management that you brought on. You have experience previously from Rio Tinto, from Endeavor Silver. There are a lot of people here that have a lot of experience with past
Endeavor
producing
Mining, it
projects.
was, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. And, you know, the one thing that makes us now a bit unique is the fact that through Sun Valley's commitments and investments, and also given their profile, we actually want to build the mine. You know, we are not one of those companies that, you know, most often you see public companies doing a feasibility study and then kind of trying to sell the project or, you know, kind of give an exit strategy. We are actually committed to build a mine. So why it's important is that, you know, our technical team will be working hand in hand with the engineers to ensure that the project is both most economically possible, the capex is kept as low as possible, and the, you know, NPV and IRR are as high as possible, right? And everything we do is practical, it's doable, and it's common sense. And you'll see us taking a very unique approach here. You know, we really value very much the partnership we have with the First Nations. So, you know, we are actually going to be doing all these efforts that from feasibility through permitting together with our First Nation group. You know, they will be involved in all the decisions important to the project. And, you know, we are very fortunate to deal with the group it's been great to deal with. There is a history of Canagold dealing with them in the past, but now has, you know, is the time when we're actually going to be working on things hand in hand together. You know, we want to have this project as a model, both for the community, also in terms of the environment footprint. And the one good thing about a project, despite, you know, being remote and all that, it's going to be fairly small. And the reason it's small is because it's high grade, right? So, you know, we are talking about a target of producing about 100,000 ounces of gold a year, while only mining about 1,000 tons a day. Why is that possible? It's because of the grade. And, you know, if you want to run a 1,000 ton a day operation underground, it's not a huge mine. And it's a great thing to have in our pocket.
Yeah, and one thing that you guys have that a lot of other companies don't have right now in this day and age, as we're looking at the grams per ton, you know, off of your presentation, your cutoff is about 10.8, 10.4. You guys have a really good resource per ton. And it gets back to what you're talking about. You don't need to run a bunch of tons every day to get this resource out of the ground. So, Catalin, maybe you can explain how that affects the profitability of your mine and what investors should expect when you guys get to that mining decision.
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, there's all saying the grade is king in mining, and it truly is. And you know, by the way, the resource report that you just showed earlier, it's a combination between measured and indicated, but there's over 30,000 meters of drilling completed, aimed at upgrading that to indicated, which, you know, we are very confident that will be the case in due course here, and will be done as part of the feasibility study. But more importantly, I think why is the grade important is the fact that, you know, one, as I mentioned, that allows us to have a fairly small footprint. But second, is the fact that, you know, we are in a remote area, right? So there is, you know, associated costs with operating in a fairly remote area, but we have the room to pay for it, right? And we have the grade to afford, you know, a slightly higher cost of operating in this part of the world, right? So, you know, that's again an area where there is no power lines. We would have to generate power, which in turn is more expensive. But again, comes down to, you know, how much revenue you're gonna generate, and having 10 grams a ton average grade pays for all those things. You know, I can't talk much about economics outside of the published PEA numbers, which are on our website, and I encourage people to look at that. But it does show that it's a very robust project. Economically, it has the potential to be very robust due to the grade and despite the additional costs with location and logistics. And, you know, the slide you're showing right now, it's very relevant because this type of deposits, they are very similar with many parts of the world where things go a lot deeper. We've only touched probably the surface of the mineralization on this, and where we have 1 million ounces. it's becoming very expensive for us to keep drilling at depth from surface. So it's just not economical. But we've already had a few good intercepts at depth underneath of the existing ore body, which showed continuous mineralization. So really, if you look at it from a size perspective, we do have about 1 million ounce or more defined, and will be nicely put together in a resource. But the potential, based on the what geologists are doing, the geological potential is more like 2 to 3 million ounces, due to the fact that it's similar to other type of deposits, and due to the fact that we already have done a few deposits that intercepted, continuous mineralization. So it's very exciting. It's even though mineral ounces is nothing to be shy about, it's gonna give us probably 10 years mine life with 100,000 ounces a year. I think there's a good chance to continue that mine life for more than 10 years.
And in terms of where you are, I know that you've had a big management change, brought on a lot of additional resources, have secured your financing that you need up until you make that mine decision. Has your project timeline changed at all, or can you just outline that really quickly for investors? If they're getting in, what timeline are they looking at for Canagold?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, timeline is always important, right? And how long it's gonna take. Well, there's really two critical elements here that drive that timeline, right? One is the feasibility study, and the other one is permitting. So I would consider, let's say about a total of 3 years between, kind of now till we have possibly the permits very close to being issued to us. And then I'll split that period in half. I'll go halfway around there. We would have the feasibility study complete, right? The feasibility study has already started. It will be complete in about 18 months or thereabouts. So, halfway around that 3-year time frame, we'll have the feasibility study complete. And there's also a time when very likely we should be able to secure even project financing subject to permits being granted, sorry. So, there's going to be a lot of news flow basically between now and the 3 years time frame that would slowly, one at a time, will be de-risking the project and kind of bringing those ounces into a more defined category of measuring and eventually reserves when the feasibility study has been completed. And that is a result of that, we almost forcing the market, regardless what the market wants to do, to revalue those ounces accordingly, right? We are currently valued at, I don't know, less than $15 US an ounce. And even in this depressed market, if you look at other companies such as Kina and others, how much do they get valued to ounces at feasibility study complete and not even permit granted? It's 4 to 5 times more than that, right? So those are facts. So this is the possible return expectation based on facts and fundamentals, right? But and this is in a bad market, right? This is in a very depressed gold price now, and fairly subdued market. If things go, the gold jumps to much higher levels in 2 3 years, which is very likely, the 4 to 5 times could become 10 to 15 times, right? It's how gold price affects those metrics.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The underlying commodity does have a big effect on the overall project, not only feasibility, but the profit that you would expect to make, and the impact that would have on investors. And I'd also like to point out that you guys are nearing what I call a sweet spot in the gold stock or gold equity investment space. If you look at the Lassonde curve, companies that make that mine decision, have the feasibility study, make that mine decision, 90% of the time will offer at least a 90% of return when they develop out that mine and start developing their project and creating the ounces out of the ground. So I think investors who are looking at your company are, would be getting in right before you go through that phase of your development of the project. And that typically has been very good, for investors to get into in the equity space. And I think at this point, looking at your project, it's pretty clear you guys have done a lot of the work to show that you have the ounces, definitely have the financing, and now it's just a matter of executing on the feasibility. So I know that's going to be exciting news for investors going forward.
Absolutely. And then the other thing I would say is, the availability of stock will slowly shrink as our investor keeps investing. So the float gets would eventually get smaller and smaller. So the chance of investors to get in be harder basically. So I would encourage you to to keep watching us and If you like it, have a look at the bright entry point that you would like to get into the story.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, you guys have a 1,000,000 ounce gold deposit so far, potential for open at depth on this type of mesothermal system, which we've seen around the world in other projects like Kirkland Lake and others that you guys highlighted, as well as you have the financing and the expertise now. So it looks like you guys are really set up, to take that next stage. And yeah, Catalin, we appreciate you coming on the program and giving us an update. And of course, we'll follow this as we, move forward. If you guys move forward in your process, I think it's going to be a very interesting time for your company and for investors who are interested in Canagold.
Thank you so much, and feel free to sign up to our newsletter, and feel free to reach out directly to myself or 𝙂𝙊𝙇𝙀𝙊𝙎. I personally get back to people. I'm more than happy to get in touch with anyone that wants to talk more about Canagold.
Yeah, and we will definitely put those contact points down in the description of the video for people that want to reach out to you guys. And you guys are trading. Tell people what exchanges you're trading on if they want to find you in their broker.
Yeah, so we are trading on TSX main board. So we are not on the venture, we're actually on the big guys board, which is great because once we grow, it's a much more liquid platform, and why not? Under the symbol CCM, and we're also trading over the counter in US under symbol CRCUF. So you could buy the stock in US as well, and I think that sums it up.
Thank you so much, Catalin, for joining the program. Once again, this has been a review of Canagold Resources. We'll continue coverage as we march forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catalin.